Picture this: Africa, early 1800s, a place where slaves are being transported in turn for some cloth and metal. Trade links were established with the Mediterranean world, Western Asia, and the Indian Ocean region. But imperialism will soon come to tear Africa apart. In the 1500s and 1600s, the Arab Empire used slave labor, using often captives from East Africa, where they would then go and work on farming estates. Europeans also had large numbers of slaves imported to perform labor on their plantations, which were just large estates run by an owner or an owner's overseer in Americas and elsewhere. In 1652, Dutch immigrants arrived at the southern tip of the continent. They built Cape Town, the first permanent European settlement to supply ships sailing to or from the East Indies. In 1602, a group of wealthy Dutch merchants formed the Dutch East India Company. This company was tightly government-controlled, and the company had full sovereign powers. This means that it had power to build armies, wage war, negotiate peace treaties, and govern overseas territory. With its power, it came to dominate the region. The Mughal Empire had begun to weaken. As the Mughal power faltered, French and English traders fought for power. And also, like the Dutch, both the British and the French had established East India companies. The Amexosa people are the second largest ethnic group in South Africa. Boer was the term that Africans used that means farmer to signify the descendants of the Dutch-speaking settlers in South Africa in the 1800s. Shaka was the ruthless and brilliant leader of the Zulus in South Africa. He cemented a growing pride in the Zulus by encouraging rival groups to forget their differences. He was the last of the great Zulu kings. In 1815, he assumed power over the AmaZulus. He was defeated by the British in 1879. The Fourth War of Dispossession between the Amexosa and colonists took place under the command of Commissioner John Graham. He now has the headquarters of the Cape Regiment named after him, named Grahamstown after his onslaught on the Amexosa.
The Wars of Dispossession was when Khoisan, or two ethnic tribes, had a protest over these eastern capes in order to stop the colonials from having trade. I guess you could say they wanted to move on in over these cattle trades. It ended in a deadlock between the rebellion and the colonials, as they could not reach a peace treaty in the middle of it due to these cattle trades going on.
Cape Town Gazette is a newspaper started around 1800 by two slave dealers, which was used by the government as a way to keep in touch with the people. In 1829, after a long struggle with the government, the colony granted freedom of the press. This led to the growth in newspaper business and publication.
Africa traded with India, and they gained firearms in trade for iron and copper. This trade helped gain military power and strength. With the integration of imperialism, they were stripped of their raw materials, and they had many clashes with borders and ethnic groups. Fun fact: the English word slave comes from As I was saying, the English word slave comes from the large number of Slavs taken from southern Russia to work as unpaid laborers in Roman times.
The Khoikhoi were an ethnic group of society who looked like and talked like the San people, but they were from southwestern Africa. Africa was a divided society before the Europeans arrived. The division was between the pastoralists and the Khoikhoi, the hunter-gatherers, the San. The division was not radical, but politically and economically.
The Hottentot Proclamation was to regulate the use of the Khoikhoi and colored people, as the white farmers would use them for slavery.
The Zulus were a Batu ethnic group of southern Africa and the largest ethnic group in South Africa. The Batu migrated to sub-Saharan regions in Africa as they spread agriculture to different ethnic groups and taught how to make iron tools and weapons. Islam had long influenced the east coast of Africa with their port towns which carried profitable trade. The cargoes were often slaves. Ivory and copper were exchanged for goods from India, such as cloth and firearms.
The imperialistic views and actions Great Britain took in order to gain Africa's raw resources caused conflicts in both borders in the countries and ethnic borders. Europe drained Africa of their abundant natural resources for personal gain, caused lots of internal conflict. Just like India, Europe stopped Africa from achieving independence until the late 1900s due to all the operations for trade and resource gain occurring at the time.